The following audio may contain the personal testimonials of some OPTAVIA coaches or clients of OPTAVIA. The results relayed in these messages are based on the unique experiences of the participants, and we cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. While you may be inspired by these accounts, please note that any stories of success have not been verified and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you consult with a healthcare provider before starting a weight loss program. Yours in health, the OPTAVIA team.
Hey everyone, my name is Jan Paxman. I'm a registered nurse and certified OPTAVIA coach, and I'm joined tonight with Jennifer Christman, and I'm going to let her go ahead and introduce herself.
Hi everyone, my name is Jennifer Christman, and you can see here from the slide, I'm your clinical nutrition director for nutrition support and nutrition and wellness. And I'm super excited to be here with you all. And you can see a little information about myself there if you haven't seen me speak at convention or if you haven't seen me at an event. I have been a dietitian for quite some years, and I'm also certified in level 1, 2 in adult weight management. So before we get started, Jan, if you want to go to the next slide, just putting up our disclaimer here. You'll see this in all of our guides that you can get on answers.optavia.com. They're really addressing if you have any kind of illnesses or chronic diseases. But tonight we're going to be talking about balancing blood sugar. So if you feel like any of this pertains to you, you really should read it, as a coach read it, and as a client. So we are going to pass this back to Jan. She's going to tell us a little bit about her story and get us started. Jan?
Thank you so much, Jen. Yes, and if you haven't seen the recording that's in OPTAVIA, learn from Jennifer about our programs. That is a fantastic recording. You should go and check that out. It's fantastic.
Oh, thanks for the plug.
Yeah. So, yeah, my name is Jan again. I am a registered nurse, and I found this program 8 years ago when I was looking to get healthier after having this big family. We have 8 children. We kind of have a yours, mine, and ours situation. And I did not feel at my best. And we were actually blessed with this cute little guy right here. I actually had him at age 45. And a little surprise bonus, but once he got here, we were so thrilled to have him. But there again, I didn't feel like I was at my best, and I had this large family with so many children going this way and that way. I needed to be on my game. So right here, I've got this little picture. I would usually be able to get down to within about 12 pounds of my pre-pregnancy weight after each child, but this last time I could not get there. And I found myself, when I would have a child prior to this, when I would lose the weight, I would find myself cutting back on eating just everything and start to exercise. I was eating like a lot of vegetables and things like that, but I wasn't getting the protein in. I did not understand blood sugar balancing. And, they really didn't teach that in nursing school. What I learned in nursing school was the basics of food science nutrition, but I did not understand this balancing blood sugar. And once I did understand that, not only did I lose the weight, but I felt so good. And my experience was, once my body was healthy, I noticed that I had some nagging little dull headaches that would happen often that stopped happening. And I also had some problems with candida, which was an overgrowth of yeast, that once my blood sugar got balanced and I understood that, all those symptoms went away as well. So I feel like I lost 120 pounds over the course of my adult life because I lost the same 12 pounds like 10 times. But this last time, I finally understood, because of this program, blood sugar balancing, and I was able to see results that are still lasting. Like right now, Jen, it was so exciting to finally figure it out. I felt like I cracked the code.
That's awesome.
And Dr. Anderson's books, The Habits of Health System, just really helped me understand this. I finally, I could read myself on these pages. I understood it. I especially love chapter 6, where it really gets into the nuts and bolts of it, because it speaks to the science of our program, which is, the nursing part of me kind of kicks in, and that's what I really understand. So if it's okay, I'd just love to take you through a couple of those slides, if that's okay. All right. So, well, first of all, I'll talk about the glycemic index. This is something Dr. A speaks to in chapter 9 that is so awesome. You know, not all food is created equally, and glycemic index was created to help people understand what would happen to their blood sugar on a scale of 1 to 100 based on the foods that they ate. So if you eat raspberries, your glycemic index will be low because raspberries don't spike your blood sugar. But if you ate this cookie, the glycemic index would be high because your blood sugar would be spiked because of all the refined sugars in this food. So understanding this made all the difference for me. And in chapter 9 again of Dr. A's books, you will see charts that help you understand what foods are the best source for you that don't spike your blood sugar. Now, this is great for you as you're learning to balance proteins and carbohydrates and making food choices, but also to help you understand that, the foods that are higher in glycemic index don't necessarily need to be avoided completely. But once you're through the program, the weight loss phase of the program, and you've gone through a proper transition phase, then you're moving into optimization. Those foods can be used if you're careful about portion sizes and you balance it up with a little bit of protein. That can really help you. But overall, I really try to stick with the lower glycemic index foods because I just feel so much better in that range for myself. But here's the slide I really love. Okay, this is kind of a general, slide of what maybe Americans would do on a daily basis. It's kind of just like a general thought. You get up in the morning, you're rushed, so you grab orange juice as running out the door. About 10 a.m., you're feeling a little bit sluggish, so your blood sugar had spiked with the orange juice, then it crashes, so you go for the bagel in the break room. And then blood sugar spikes again, you go for lunch, grab some fast food somewhere because you're hurried, and then it spikes again. Then in the afternoon, you get the afternoon crash. The candy bar in the drawer of your desk comes out. You eat that. That'll give you a spike again. And then at home, you get home, you've had this horrendous day, and it's like you feel like you just want to eat. And we usually would eat too much, right? This is kind of typical, I think. But then if you look beyond this, what our program helps people learn is to fuel your body so you're not having those spikes and crashes of blood sugar all day long. Because along with the blood sugar spike, your insulin, which is a fat storing hormone, is also spiking. And with that whole pattern happening, your body is going to be storing away the sugars that it's not utilizing for energy as fat. So now as we move into this different slide, you can see how we teach people how to fuel their bodies with protein carbohydrate balanced fuelings that keep their blood sugar nice and low and steady all day, meaning that our bodies are so much more efficient and we're burning what we're using and not storing fat. So the science behind the 6 smaller fuelings, I had heard this before, but I didn't really understand what that was about. But it's all because you keep that insulin level low and steady. So here's a study that was done at the University of Toronto where they provided 2 different control groups, the same exact food, the same exact number of calories, and the one group ate 3 times a day and the other group broke it into 6 smaller fuelings throughout the day. And out of those 2 groups, the group that ate 6 times a day, they lost more weight, they were less hungry, reduced their cholesterol by 15%, and their blood insulin by 28%. That to me is so very cool. So by teaching our clients and ourselves to do this, we are then setting ourselves up for success long term, and that's the whole goal. So Jennifer, can you just share a little bit more about kind of the national information that we should know about with regard to blood sugar balancing?
Absolutely, Jan. That was great. Thanks for sharing that. I think a lot of times when we think of blood sugar balancing, people associate that sometimes with diabetes. So one thing I just wanted to comment on that, and this is from the American Diabetes Association, is that there's really no cure for diabetes, but it can be managed. And there's a couple things we can do. One is exercise and medications if you're prescribed those medications. And then the other impact we can have is with the food that we eat and balancing that. And Jan's been touching on, which foods we should eat and the portion sizes and the combinations. And that really can help keep our blood glucose within a healthy range. And within that, if we lose a little bit of weight, we actually can help control our blood sugar even more. So if you go to the next slide, Jan, we know that from the Diabetes Weight Loss Center at Johns Hopkins, if we lose only 5 to 10% of our body weight, it lowers our risk for developing diabetes by 58%. And this is so critical because we know diabetes is such a major issue in our country. And we also know that our program is so great at helping people not only help keeping that insulin level stable, but it also can help us lose weight. And that's really where we make our claim. So to put this in perspective, if you have somebody, a client or yourself that's around 200 pounds, that's really, just a 10 to 20 pound weight loss. And we know that that's really achievable. So when we look at our meal planning and our diet and what we're doing to help balance our blood sugar, we really want to take a look at food labels. And this can be really confusing, but it's very powerful in knowledge of knowing what we can do and how we can impact our blood sugar level. So we're just going to look here. This food label is our chicken noodle soup, I believe. So if you haven't seen that before, go ahead and try that fueling. It's great. So I just use this as a guide. So at the top there, we have our serving size, and we know it's 1 packet. Eating these fuelings can help really control our portion sizes, and that's true in everything we do, but really taking a look at serving size when we're making other food choices. Is there 1 serving, 2 servings, 3 servings? That can make a big difference in how many calories we're getting and carbohydrates. And then we want to check out the total calories because, if there's 3 servings in 1 pack and each serving is 100 calories, then we're going to have 300 calories just from that pack where we may think the whole thing is only 1 serving. Mm-hmm. And then daily values, I will touch on that for 1 minute. Daily values are actually based on a meal plan that's 2,000 calories. So you really want to be mindful of that, especially when you are trying to lose weight and maybe you're on a program like ours, the Optimal Weight 5 in 1 plan. That is about half of those calories. So we want to be careful when we're looking at daily values. And then, of course, we have fat, added sugar, and sodium. These are all important numbers to take note of. What I really want to touch here on, and Jan did a great job is introducing this, is that we want to make sure that we're having a balance of protein and carbohydrates. This can really help balance our blood sugar. And what encompasses carbohydrates are things like the fibers, the sugars, the starches. And I just want to touch on this concept here of net carbs. And you may have heard this before, net carbs, effective carbs, impact carbs, and they're really used by food manufacturers, and they're interpreted differently by different people and different companies. And this term isn't really a term it's not recognized by the FDA, and it's not defined from the American Diabetes Association as a viable way to understand total carbohydrate. Different carbohydrates act differently in the body, and that includes fiber. What a lot of people do will take the total carbohydrate and subtract the fiber, but it really depends on the type of fiber and how it interacts in your body. So we know that on our program, we count total carbohydrates. And when you're on something like the Optimal Weight 5 in 1 plan, your carbohydrates are generally 80 to 100 grams total. And that includes the fiber that you are receiving. So, just take a look at those total carbs. It's definitely useful to figure out and to notice everything that you're putting into your body and just not subtracting it from those total carbs. Does that make sense?
Yes, that is so good, Jen. And before we move on, I was just going to say really quickly, as you're talking about the proteins and the carbohydrates being balanced, one thing that I really learned that helped me understand this is that when you have protein added to a carbohydrate, it slows the digestion of that carbohydrate, and it allows for the blood sugar it doesn't rise as fast. That's what keeps it rising slower. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. And the same thing with healthy fats, actually. So having that combination definitely helps to keep it more stable and more steady. So you get that slower absorption of the carbohydrate.
Right.
Absolutely.
And the fact that we have the protein also helps us stay fuller, longer, and the same with the fats as well. So it's so important that we have all of those components in the right balance, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent point.
So good. Okay.
So when we move on, this is another example of a food label here, just really being conscious of sugars. You know, there are natural sugars in food, like fruit has natural sugar in it. But what you really want to be careful about is this added sugar. Like here you'll see an example here. This product, I'm not really sure what it is, but it has 3 grams of sugar. And the third ingredient right there is brown sugar. So you want to be careful. Take a look at those food labels. They really can tell you a lot about the food and the ingredients.
Absolutely.
And then the next slide, really enhances that here. So we can see, and Janet touched on this, the protein is really important. Trans fats circled on there as well. We want to avoid that because it's not good for our heart. But really practice looking at food labels. And if you have questions, go and talk with your coach, maybe look something up, call nutrition support. If you have some questions about food labels, because they can, I've been a dietitian for a long time, and sometimes I get confused about food labels. And food manufacturers want their foods to look in the best light because they want you, to purchase them and eat them. So, we want to scrutinize labels. We want to look at them. We want to question them. And we really want to make sure that we're empowering ourselves with knowledge so we're able to make healthy choices.
Awesome. So here's one. Can you explain this one a little bit?
Oh, yep. This is great, Jan. And you can jump in anytime. This is one that we love to look at, right? Here's 2 different yogurts. So we see the one here on the left in the white label. That has 150 calories and 26 grams of carbohydrate. So upon a deeper dive there, we can see it has 19 grams of sugar. That's a lot of sugar. So that's probably a little bit of natural sugar from the yogurt, but and the milk, but a lot of it's probably added. And we could take a look at the ingredients if we wanted to dive deeper. That has some protein in it, which is good, 6 grams. But then we take a look at the right-hand label, which may be a better choice. So we see something that's almost half the calories there, 80 calories. And then look at the carbohydrates. The total carbohydrates is only 8. And then we see sugars is all the way down to 6. And protein is double at 12. So these are 2 different yogurts, and their ingredients may be a little different. So when you're scrutinizing the labels and looking at what might be a better choice, what might fill you up a little more, as Jan mentioned before, that protein really helps to fill you up. So you're getting less calories, more protein, less sugar. So the one on the right may be a better choice.
Awesome. That's so great. Right. So I just wanted to touch briefly about the splitting up, like when we're in our weight loss phase and we're doing our 5-in-1 program, for those of you who are on that plan, sometimes it helps to split up your proteins and have half of that in the middle of the day and half of it later in the day. And that option is there for you. It helps to maybe give you a little bit more stabilization, and you might feel a little bit better as you do that. So these are options that are taken from our vegetarian option guide. And these are some of the things that I have found work well for me, because I tend to be a little hypoglycemic. And so having a little bit of extra protein midday with a little bit of extra carbohydrate never hurts to balance me out a little bit. So for instance, like 3/4 cup of low-fat cottage cheese equals half of your lean protein. It comes from the leaner category. And I have that sometimes, like if I were doing the penne pasta or something, I love to put that underneath and then pour the penne pasta over the top. So I'm having my fueling at lunchtime with half of my protein, and it tastes like lasagna. It's amazing. And I feel a little bit more, stabilized when I do that. Just an idea. And then you can do that with plain Greek yogurt. Also, you can mix maybe a pudding or something with the yogurt, and it turns out to be like a mousse. Really good. Or like egg beaters are allowed for our leanest category of lean options. And you could do a small little omelet, maybe add one of your servings of vegetables in there with that, and then have the other 2 servings of vegetables with the rest of your protein later in the day. That's okay. And then again, 2 low-fat cheese sticks can count as half of your lean for the day as well. And that just might give you a little bit more balance during your day if you feel like you're needing that at all. Some people don't at all, but just so you know that those options are available to you and they are on plan. And then another thing here, just in transition, remember that as we're adding and we're going through the simple steps of our transition plan, the first week we'd be adding in an extra cup of vegetables, and those could be some that we weren't used to eating while on the 5-in-1 program. But just be sure that as you're adding those in, those are carbohydrates as well. You could maybe borrow a little bit of protein from your lean and green protein, that lean option, to pair up with those vegetables, or maybe just put those vegetables in that lean and green meal so that you have a little bit of balance of protein there. Same with the fruit in the next week of transition. It doesn't hurt to maybe borrow a little bit of protein or add those into maybe a shake or something so that you're having that little bit of extra protein balance with the carbohydrates from the fruit. In the 3rd week, we are adding in dairy. So if you're not used to having dairy, you would be adding that, or additional dairy if you were using some options from the vegetarian guide. But that is there so that you can utilize that protein from the dairy to match up with these things a little bit. And then in the 4th week with the grains, we are, given additional protein as well. So it all balances out, but just keep in mind, it doesn't hurt to kind of be mindful of that as you go along.
Absolutely. Those are great tips, Jan. Absolutely. And then along with that, as we move into optimization, and our food choices, continue along those principles, all the habits of health that we've been practicing every single day, every single week, none of them go away. So we're eating every few hours. We're eating about the same amount of carbohydrates. So we're watching our portion sizes. We're pairing it with protein and fat for balance. And I mean healthy fats. We're not going out and eating a whole bunch of saturated fat, but those healthy fats like avocado and olive oil and those types of things. And again, we can't say it enough, pairing the protein and the fat really can help slow absorption, help you balance blood sugar. And then another key point in here is choosing adequate fiber options. So when we're looking at whole grain breads, we wanting to choose something that's 3 grams or more per serving. And I like to say 3 grams or more per slice because we want to be careful about that. And then of course, water is so important. Drinking our 64 ounces of water every day can really help our bodies function optimally. So we want to make sure that we're staying hydrated as well.
Awesome.
So along with these food choices, you can continue, as Jan was saying, pairing those fuelings with different foods throughout the day as you move into optimization. Here I'm going to put a plug in for our Pinterest page. We have recipes coming up on our Pinterest page every week. Our dietitians are working really hard to bring you fun and new recipes. So here we have our egg and cheese bagel sandwich using one of our fuelings. It looks so delicious, and it is delicious. And then we have a pizza here using, as a lean and green meal. And these work wonderfully through optimization as well. So just because you had it during weight loss doesn't mean you have to eliminate it going forward, because it's a healthy habit to continue to eat and portion control. And all of this can help you balance your blood sugar in the long run.
Yes. Oh my goodness. These choices look so good. And honestly, just the fact that you're here watching this webinar right now says that you're really investing in your long-term health and long-term success. And as you continue to just practice these habits, they become part of who you are, not just things that you're doing for a time while you're getting to a healthier place, but it's going to become who you are to choose these choices and feel great about it. And then onward, as you go throughout your life, it's not difficult to maintain that if you just keep practicing and keep using these options and learning. So awesome. So Jen, I loved your slide just before that last one because you and I were on the same wavelength. We both felt like these are things we just do for the rest of our lives: fueling correctly, hydrating, getting restful sleep, moving, finding something you enjoy that's exercise type thing that you can continue doing long term, staying connected to our awesome support system, being part of and contributing to our community of support, staying mindful and aware. And another great thing is showing the example for others, because once we found this, like I felt like I had cracked the code. I really did. I couldn't believe that I could feel so good. And as I felt that way, I felt like I needed to pay it forward and help other people realize that this is here. So whether that means, you know, introducing people in your world that are struggling or wanting to get healthier to your coach, or even becoming a coach alongside us and learning the OPTAVIA system so that you can assist others to become healthy as well. That is such a powerful tool to not only help them, but also help you stay healthy. So wonderful. Well, Jennifer, do you have anything you'd like to add just as we're wrapping up?
Yes, I think you did a great job. You really summed it up. I really, you know, I am big on role modeling, and the coach is so important in that concept. And not only are you showing an example for your clients and your coaches, but you know, you can pay it forward and provide that for somebody else. I will say one other thing that, you know, as we're talking about blood sugar tonight and balancing blood sugar, if you really feel like you are recognizing that you may have a problem with balancing your blood sugar, I do encourage you to follow up with your healthcare provider as well. You may need additional testing, and as you're on your journey, this OPTAVIA journey to get healthy, you know, it's important that your healthcare provider monitor you along the way as well. So I just wanted to add that.
Absolutely. That's perfect. Thank you so much, Jen. It's been so fun working with you tonight. And thank you all for being part of this wonderful movement of health that we have here with OPTAVIA. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This audio may have contained the personal testimonials of some OPTAVIA coaches or clients of OPTAVIA. The results relayed in these messages are based on the unique experiences of the participants, and we cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. While you may be inspired by these accounts, please note that any stories of success have not been verified, and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you consult with a healthcare provider before starting a weight loss program. Yours in health, the OPTAVIA team.